Hello everyone, this is part 35 of What If Naruto Meets the Nine Tails Early, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Hey billboard brow, get your sorrier down here, shouted Ino from the arena. Sakura let go of the rail, revealing a much dented rail where her hand was. Here Naruto, hold on to these, said Sakura, passing Naruto her pouch where she stored her extra senbon. I don't keep the pink ones in my gloves and the last thing I want to do is use those on Ino. She then proceeded to make her way down to the arena to meet Ino. Troublesome, said Shikamaru. Is that all you say? Shouted Temari towards the lazy Chunin. Troublesome woman, responded Shikamaru with a bored expression on his face. At this point, Temari was about ready to s her fan into the Nara's face. The only thing holding her back would probably be Gaara's sand. Dobe, if you play around with those, you're going to prick yourself, said Sasuke to Naruto, who was looking through Sakura's bag of senbon. Ouch! Shouted Naruto as he shook his hand from pricking himself with one of Sakura's sleeping senbon. Told you, replied Sasuke. Shut up Tem, yawn, I feel sleepy, yawned Naruto before collapsing to the ground. Everyone's sweat dropped. If Naruto missed his match because of this, there was no way Sasuke would ever let him live it down. Troublesome, replied Shikamaru, observing the whole thing. That's it. Get over here, pineapple head, shouted Temari as Shikamaru began running. Once Sakura arrived down in the arena, Darui signaled the start of the fight. Well, little Sakura. Here'll show Sasuke who truly is the better, ouch, shouted Ino as she felt something sharp drive into her shoulder. Shut up and fight, growled Sakura. Grr, fine, shouted Ino as she charged at Sakura. Sakura easily dodged Ino's punch and threw her against the opposite wall. This world is no place for silly girls living in a fantasy world, Ino. I nearly learning that fact, and so are you, said Sakura. What are you talking about, billboard brow? Responded Ino. That senbon in your shoulder is coated with a poison will take full effect in about 5 minutes, said Sakura, pointing to the black senbon in Ino's shoulder. If you can't beat me by then, it'll be all over. As a matter of fact, I could have KU just a moment ago while you were boasting about how you're going to kick my A for Sasuke. You're joking, billboard brow. There's no way you have what it takes to beat me, said Ino, swinging another punch at Sakura, only for the pinkett to easily block. I'm not, and in fact you should have been days ago when you ran into that monster, shouted Sakura, pointing up towards the Kiri Jinchuriki who just managed a grin behind his mask. But you're not, because I was the one who saved you. That was all a genjutsu. It was Sasuke who saved us, not you, shouted Ino as she swung another punch at Sakura. Again, Sakura dodged with ease. Up in the stands, Sakura's not really trying to K Ino, is she? Asked a concerned Kurenai. Kakashi whispered something into her ear and she got it. Down in the arena, Sakura dodged another punch from Ino, retaliating with one of her own this time. Sakura's punch caught Ino in the stomach and sent her sliding back against the floor, clutching her stomach in pain. You're going to need to do much better if you want to beat me, let alone survive, Ino growled, but her eyes suddenly shot open as she began losing feeling in her arms. My arm. Looks like it's starting to take effect. The poison will start with your arms and legs and work its way towards the more vital organs in your body. If I'm correct, you've got about 3 minutes left. And I doubt you have anything that can save you. Oh, and if you're even thinking of using your mind switch jutsu on me, I think we learned last time that doesn't work, explained Sakura. However, my techniques should work just fine. Ninpo, hell viewing technique. Ino watched as a swirl of cherry blossoms enveloped her and she found herself in some sort of forest setting. Her initial thought was genjutsu, but she soon saw Sasuke, lying face down on the ground with a few arrows sticking out of his back and the sound four smiling at their Sasuke. Ino, Sasuke said weakly. Sasuke. Don't worry, I'm here for you, cried Ino as she made her way towards Sasuke. Did the poor little baby lose something? Asked Kidomaru. I say we just put the whore out of her misery, commented Tayuya. Kidomaru drew back his bow and aimed it at Ino, loosing the arrow straight into Ino's sea. Ino winced in pain as she collapsed next to the ground, next to Sasuke. Ino, said Sasuke weakly. With what little life she had left in her, Ino turned her attention to Sasuke. I always knew you'd be the death of me. You're weak, too weak for me, too weak for anyone. As Ino passed into darkness, she awoke back in the arena with a yell cry. Sasuke. Ino then collapsed to the ground, no longer able to move her legs or arms. Sakura's tone changed from harsh to sincere. Ino, I know exactly what you saw, because I actually lived that. I stood by, completely helpless as I watched Sasuke, my friend and comrade, right in front of me. I watched him as I slowly felt myself as well. I was lucky, by some miracle, we both made it out of that alive, but I will never forget how useless I felt there. Afterwards, I began to push myself to become the best ninja I could become, so that I would never be just a burden again. Sakura, am I really going to DS? Asked Ino, completely broken. Sakura smiled. No, that was just a paralytic poison that should wear off in about 15 minutes. But I was serious, I could have KU if I had wanted. But why did you do something like this? I thought we were friends. Asked Ino. I did it because we are friends, Ino. I want my Ino back, the girl that used to be my best friend. The one who would laugh with me and the one who didn't make fun of my forehead. Not the one that I would always fight with over some silly crush, said Sakura. I really am sorry that I had to put you through this, but this was the only way I thought I could get the real you back. The Ino I would have fun with and the one I know that can become a Keikonoiki someday. And the Ino who make all the boys in Konoha worship her someday, not the stuck-up fangirl. Ino was crying uncontrollably at this point. Sakura, I'm sorry, I've been a terrible friend, can you ever forgive me? Asked Ino. Sakura smiled. Sure I can. I'm your friend and that's what we do, help each other through tough times like this. Sakura picked up a limp Ino and began to walk up the stairs. Hey, you know the match is still going on, shouted Darui. No it's not. I forfeit, Bilb, I mean Sakura had this one from the very beginning, said Ino. Very well. Winner, Haruno Sakura, announced Darui. That was a very cruel thing for you to do, Pinky, said Anko as Sakura arrived at the top of the balcony. She was giving one of those looks that only Anko could do, you know, the one that you make you your pants and wish for a quick death. Sakura began freaking out a little before Anko wrapped her up in a big hug. Oh, I've never been so proud of anyone. You've got potential, Pinky. If you're ever interested in tapping into that potential, come to me. Anko had just found a new best friend, apparently. Sakura just stood there, stupefied. Was she just congratulated, by Anko of all people? Yawn. What did I miss? Asked Naruto, waking up from his drug-induced sleep. This earned him that same look that Anko had just given Sakura, only from Sakura. Barker, you were asleep this entire time, shouted Sakura, giving Naruto a good-sized lump on his head. Sakura, can I ask you one more thing? Asked Ino. Did you really save me and my team from the Kiri ninja? Well, my entire team did, but I was the one who treated you. If not for that treatment, you probably would have said Sakura. I see. I believe you and I'm really sorry for doubting you, said Ino. Suddenly, Ino found herself in a hug by Sakura. It's okay, I'm just glad my best friend's back. A few people are, while the rest turned their attention to the scoreboard. Match 8, Fu of Taki vs. Kazuno of Kumo. This match took a little longer than some of the other matches, but the outcome was something that made one particularly Genin happy, even if he didn't show it. Fu had won, earning her a spot in the finals and giving her a chance to do what a fellow Jinchuriki of hers suggested to do, prove to everyone who she really was. Like most of the other Kumo ninja present, this one had some skill with a sword and preferred to use it as a primary offensive. Fu spent a decent amount of the fight dodging, in which she proved to be rather light on her feet. It was when she was finally able to get an attack off, Ninpo, blinding scales technique which temporarily blinded her opponent, that she was able to make a few decisive moves to end the match. Okay, come on, I want to go, shouted Naruto. Sakura and Sasuke sighed. Naruto was getting almost as impatient as the Raikage, who was really starting to blow a fuse now. Kumo was 1-4 while Konoha was 5-1, with their only loss being in a match between Konoha Ninja. Damn it. Match 9, Inuzuka Kiba of Konoha vs. Yugito Ni of Kumo. Hopefully this will help the dull situation, thought Darui. If anyone from Kumo can win, it's Yugito. Alright, let's go Akamaru, shouted Kiba. ARF. Kiba and his buddy made their way down to the arena with Yugito following closely behind. Now, if I remember correctly, she's some sort of crazy cat hag. We've got this in the bag, said Kiba. I'm sorry to say this, but Kiba's going to get his ass kicked, replied Naruto. Kiba's comment instantly caught Yugito's attention and her eyes turned yellow with S pupils, like that of a cat's. So you honestly think you can beat me, you mutt? Asked Yugito. I'd like to see you and that little rat of yours try. Akamaru's no rat, man-beast clone, shouted Kiba as Akamaru turned into a feral version of Kiba and Kiba became more beastly himself. Let's go boy. Gat sugar. Kiba and Akamaru barreled towards Yugito who instinctively twisted around their attacks with a level flexibility that would make even Hinata look as stiff as a board. As Kiba and Akamaru made another pass at her, Yu-Gi-Oh took a deep breath. Kaiten, mouse hairball, shouted Yugito as she exhaled a fireball that quickly took the shape of a mouse. The fireball then began to divide into many other smaller mouse-shaped fireballs. The smaller fireballs then proceeded to lock onto one of the Kibas who turned out to be Akamaru after the subsequent explosion sent the puppy skidding across the room, injured enough that he was out of the fight. Akamaru, shouted Kiba. Grr, you'll pay for that. Kiba rushed towards Yugito, ready to swipe at her with his canine-like claws. As he charged, Yugito's own claws rapidly grew. As Kiba dove towards Yugito, she simply leaned back as Kiba's attack flew over her. As Kiba was over her, she s with her own claws across the dog uses C. Kiba tumbled to the ground in obvious pain. The next thing Kiba felt as he slowly uncurled himself were Yugito's claws at his T. What's the matter, cat got your tongue dog boy? Asked Yugito as Kiba could only help but growl at his defeat. Winner, Yugito Ni of Kumo, announced Darui. Instantly, he could feel some of the Raikage's pressure backing off. Kiba and Akamaru were taken off to the infirmary. Their wounds weren't critical, but they would require some treatment. Come on, let me go already, shouted Naruto. Just hush, you'll get your turn already, said Sakura. But I can't help it, Sasuke won his match, Hinata won hers, and wait, how did you do again? I was sleeping, asked Naruto, only to receive a fist bop on the top of his head. I happened to win mine as well, thank you very much, said Sakura, crossing her arms as Hinata was busy rubbing the lump on Naruto's head. Match 10, Yumo of Kumo vs. Rigito of Taki. Damn it, I want to go, shouted Naruto. Oh, don't get your tails in a bundle, said Yugito as she walked past them. Winner, Yumo of Kumo, announced Darui. Wow, that was fast, said Naruto. I expected Yumo to end it quickly. He's like that and he's one of the best shinobi we've got in these exams. Besides, it's good that he won. Raikage-sama's been getting pretty close to exploding, said Yugito. Hey Sasuke, how did he win so fast? Asked Naruto. You should watch the match next time. It seems like he's primarily a taijutsu user, but he knows where to hit an opponent, said Sasuke. You mean like the Hyugas? Asked Naruto. Sasuke shook his head. No, I'm talking that it seems like he knows the general weak spots on the body and can take advantage of them. An initial hit to the solar plexus created a lot of openings for him. After that, it was pretty much over. Naruto nodded and then looked over at where the Taki ninja were. The Jonin sensei did not look happy at all. He was most likely mad due to the fact that Fu got into the finals while the other two didn't. After all, it's preposterous that a demon brat get into the finals of the Chunin exams, right? Match 11, Hyuga Shinji of Konoha vs. Akamaiki Chuji of Konoha. Good, about time I get this little play over with, scoffed Shinji as he made his way down to the arena. Chuji was reluctantly following. Chuji wanted to give at first, not believing he should be here after his little encounter in the second exam, but Asuma bribed him with food, as usual. While Asuma had nothing against Chuji, he was just trying to get the young Akamaki heir to understand aspects of being a ninja. Bring it, fatty, I'm getting tired of just waiting. What did you just say? Shouted an enraged Chuji. No one uses that word around him. Partial multi-size technique, shouted Chuji as his arms grew to a rather large size. Chuji clapped his hands together, hoping to grab Shinji, who simply ducked underneath his attack and sent a few strikes at Chuji's arm, see off the chakra flow in them and shrinking the arms back to normal size. Chuji stared in shock at his hands, unable to increase them in size. Human bullet tank, the Akamaki said, getting over his initial shock. Chuji swelled in size until he was as large as a huge boulder. Shinji just stood his ground as Chuji began rolling towards him at high speed. Kaiten, shouted Shinji as Chuji's attack collided with the Hyuga's absolute defense. Unfortunately for Chuji, he was thrown back against the wall from the force of the Kaiten. How does Shinji know that? Asked Naruto. He is a main family Hyuga, stated Neji. I know that, but Hinata's way better than him and she doesn't even know that, said Naruto. It's not that Hinata-sama doesn't know it, it's more like she can't use it. It's similar to Lee not being able to use ninjutsu, said Neji, earning a confused look from Naruto. Yuken techniques, especially the Kaiten are earth-based techniques, while Hinata-sama has wind-based chakra. Wind and earth are two elements that clash with one another and as such will make her learning the Kaiten extremely difficult. However, she has her own defense to make up for it, one that suits her so much better, making the Kaiten not worthwhile for her to learn. I think I see now, said Naruto. Yuken, 8 trigrams 32 palms, shouted Shinji as he quickly made a move on Chuji. Chuji, shouted the more vocal members of the Konoha 12, although, even Shikamaru joined in. Pathetic weakling. I'm amazed I was able to put up with you for the past week. All you did was talk about food, instead of the test. No wonder we just barely made it, said Shinji. Chuji began coughing up B as medics came to check on his condition. Winner, Hyuga Shinji, announced Darui. Oh yeah, he'd better hope we don't meet in the finals, cause I'm gonna kick his said Naruto. You have to make it to the finals first, Dobe, responded Sasuke. Neji, is all of the Hyuga main branch that brutal? Asked Ino. Sadly, yes. Hinata-sama's the only one who's always been kind and gentle, and as a result has been hated by the main branch for years because of her weakness, as they call it. Uncle, while he has changed, I'd be lying if I said he was never like that, said Neji. Naruto flashed Hinata his signature grin, cheering the girl up a little. Well, speaking of Hyuga, said Naruto, pointing up at the board. Match 12, Hyuga Neji of Konoha vs. Karui of Kumo. Well, perhaps fate has smiled upon me today, said Neji, slipping into fated stuck-up prick mode and a tick mark appeared on Naruto's head. You had better not start before fate dictates me raising an up your, said Naruto. This caused Neji to chuckle slightly. To him, this was now more of a joke and something he'd used to irritate Naruto every now and then. Naruto was aware it was a bit of a joke as well, but he couldn't help himself. Oh hell no. I forfeit, shouted Karui from the other side of the room, remembering the beating and heart attack Neji gave her last Chunin exam. Quote, boss, questioned Darui. The Raikage was silent. His temper wasn't really increasing, he was just confused, completely and utterly confused at Karu's sudden withdrawal. Of all people here, the short-tempered redhead was the last one he expected to do what she had just done. Very well. Winner, Hyuga Neji of Konoha, announced Darui. That certainly was dull. Hey guys, what happened? Asked Kiba, slowly making his way back from the infirmary. Let's see. I'm going to kick Shinji's and Neji probably set the record for the shortest match in history, said Naruto. Was Shinji the one who Chuji faced? Asked Kiba. A few people nodded. Damn. That would explain why he looked pretty beat up. Now I want to kick his as well. HMPH. I'd like to see you try, replied Shinji, only irritating Kiba to the point where Kurenai and Asuma were struggling to hold him back. Trouble, Shikamaru was interrupted. Finish that word and you'll be eating my fist, growled Temari. Troublesome, joked Kankuro, only to earn him a hard smack from Temari's fan. Match 13, Tenten of Konoha vs. Goyaku of Kiri. swore Naruto loudly, waking his inhabitant. What is it now? I was talking a nap, growled a grumpy Kyuubi. It's him, said Naruto. He looked over and saw the Kiri Jinchuriki, apparently his name was Goyoku, make his was towards the arena. Goyoku was shooting a look towards Naruto that basically said, watch as I K your friend. Tenten, shouted Naruto, grabbing the weapons expert before she could get down to the arena. What is it, Naruto? I've got a match, said Tenten. No, you've got to forfeit. You're no match against him. He'll KU, warned Naruto. Your concern is touching, but I can handle myself, replied Tenten. But, said Naruto as he was hushed by Tenten. Why did you do that, Naruto? Asked Lee. That wasn't very youthful. Naruto grinned and gripped the railing as the match began. What do I do? If Tenten continues, she'll get herself K no matter what. A tricky situation. I'm afraid you may be forced to give up something here. Just do what comes naturally and everything will work out. In the arena, Tenten made the first move, throwing about a dozen kunai towards her opponent. Goyoku didn't even blink as the kunai disintegrated when they got within 5 or 6 feet of him. What? Said Tenten in shock. She got over her initial shock and pulled out the 2 scrolls at her side, placing them in front of her. Fine. Twin Rising Dragon. The scrolls unfurled and spiraled upwards as Tenten jumped up into them and began hurling weapon after weapon at Goyoku. Damn it, swore Naruto from the balcony. Tenten's attack didn't manage a single hit as all her weapons disintegrated from the acid surrounding him before they. Bah, you're not even worth K. However, I'll be nice and K you just to piss off Blondie up there, said Goyoku. Ninpo, breath of death. Goyoku exhaled a dense acidic cloud that quickly enveloped Tenten. She began to cough violently as the acid went to work on her lungs and also her skin. Somehow, Tenten managed to crawl out of the cloud before too much damage was done. Naruto was right, said Tenten, breathing heavily as she coughed up a bit of I forfeit. Darui nodded. Winner, Goyoku. PHFT. Too bad that's not going to help, said Goyoku. He formed what appeared to be a ball of condensed acid in between his hand. Stop. This match it over, ordered Darui. Goyoku wasn't listening. Tenten, shouted a worried team guy. Ninpo, acid sphere, shouted Goyoku as he shot the condensed ball of acid towards Tenten. The entire room couldn't breathe as what seemed to be Tenten's inevitable death approached. A cry of pain rang out through the dojo as the ball of acid hit something. Tenten opened her eyes to see Naruto standing over her, some weird red chakra cloak over him. Are you alright? Asked Naruto. Despite having a chakra cloak on him, that acid was concentrated enough to penetrate the cloak and eat away at the clothes, including the famed orange jacket, and some of the F on his back. With the presence of Kurama's chakra, his back instantly began healing, but that didn't do anything to stop the shocked looks on a lot of people's faces from around the room. Kurenai-sensei, what's going on? Asked a stunned Kiba. When Kurenai wasn't giving him answers, he turned to the others. That's something for Naruto to tell you and Naruto alone, said Kakashi. So Konoha does in fact have a Jinchuriki, thought the Raikage. And based on his features, I'd say Kyuubi, damn it. The Raikage just watched the scene unfold for the moment. In truth, Konoha having the Kyuubi wasn't much of a secret. It had never been confirmed, but the Raikage had suspected that a Jinchuriki was made when the Yondaime Hokage defeated the Kyuubi, 12 years ago. Truth be told, he wanted to act, he wanted to take Naruto as a prize for Kumo, but the international treaties that surrounded these exams pretty much made Naruto immune to any attempts Kumo would make towards obtaining another Jinchuriki, unless of course Kumo wanted a real war on its hands. It's the same reason why they hadn't attempted to capture the 2 unsealed Byakugans yet. And Naruto, what's up with your chakra? Asked Tenten weakly. I'll explain later, said Naruto as his body finished repairing itself. I'm sorry, but I had to give you a cloak, otherwise the regeneration wouldn't have been able to counter the acid in that attack, responded Kurama. I did mention you would be giving up something today, either one of your friends or one of your secrets. Hey, you know me. My friends come first, replied Naruto. Naruto looked over at the fellow Jinchuriki, only to receive a look of pure anger. Once again, Naruto had denied him a K. That's it, I'm K something today, you rotten little, shouted Goyaku. He even let his demonic chakra flare. Before he could take another step towards Naruto and Tenten, a large octopus tentacle wrapped around him. The source of the tentacle shocked almost every non-Kumo ninja, except for the other Jinchuriki present. Yo, calm down before I pound you into the ground, Bakayaro Konayaro, said B. B released Goyaku once he could feel the Rokubi's chakra calm down. As Naruto saw this, he lowered his cloak as well. A few of the Konoha Jonin came down to check up on Tenten. She wasn't as bad as Team 10 was after their encounter, but she still needed treatment. Before the Kumo medics could come out, Sakura had said that she would handle the treatment and Tenten was taken back to the balcony so Sakura could begin to treat her. The next time we meet, brat, I will K you and then I'll K your little annoyances of friends, threatened Goyaku. That's not going to happen. No way you'll ever lay a finger on them. That's a promise, Tabayo, replied Naruto. Naruto made his way back up to the balcony as the next fight was announced. Match 14, Yakimaru of Kumo vs. Tazakahi of Kumo. When Naruto reached the top of the stairs, the remains of his coat and shirt finally fell off, revealing the seal on his stomach to everyone, and causing Hinata to blush a bit at the sight. So Naruto, what exactly was that? Asked Kiba. Naruto sighed. He knew after acting like that, there would be questions and he would need to give answers. He told them about what really happened on the night of the Kyuubi attack and how the fox was sealed inside him by the Yondaime. Naruto then told him about Jinchurikis and how there were other Jinchurikis in the room, including Goyaku and B. What you just saw back there, was me using the Kyuubi's chakra. It was the only way I, or anyone, could have survived that ball of acid, said Naruto. He looked around at the group around him and saw fewer surprised looks than he had expected. How many of you knew? Asked Kakashi, wanting to know that after seeing their reactions. Sasuke, Sakura, Hinata, Shino, Neji, Shikamaru, Temari, and Gaara all raised their hand. Back in the academy, I knew something was different about you, Naruto. I finally figured it out about a year before graduation, said Shikamaru. And you didn't care? Asked a hopeful Naruto. While you were a little wild, you never hurt anyone and honestly, it would have just been too troublesome to really care, said Shikamaru earning a look from Temari. Shino? Asked Naruto. They told me some time ago, said Shino, holding up a finger with a few insects on it. Does it bother me? No. Why? Because you are my comrade and have given me no reason to look down upon you. Naruto then turned his attention to the people who just learned his secret. Naruto, as far as I'm concerned, you are still as honorable as you have always been. You saved Tenten, so that can only go to show that you are in fact a good guy, said Lee. If it wasn't for you, I'd be S right now, so thank you Naruto, said Tenten. Chuji and I are the same. If you hadn't saved us back in the second exam, we'd be S, said Ino, with Chuji managing a slight nod. Chuji was still trying to recover from his battle but found himself unable to move most of his body still. I find it hard to believe, but you've never been bad, replied Kiba. It's a shock that you have a demon sealed inside you, but it sounds like you've only used it for good purposes. I don't have any problems, but I suppose that explains everything. Actually, it's not like he is the Kyuubi, so why did the entire village treat you like it? The villagers' hatred for the Kyuubi overtook any form of logic and reasoning in the civilian population and they saw Naruto simply as what they feared, explained Kakashi. Plus it didn't help that they didn't understand the basic concepts behind sealing. Most of the shinobi population understood, but I'm sad to say that didn't help anything, and as Naruto proved himself as a shinobi, it's something the shinobi of our village are coming to regret more and more. Damn. I'm sorry Naruto, I never knew, replied Kiba. It's okay. You're not to blame, said Naruto. Demon trash. Everyone's attention turned towards the one who had uttered those two words, and a certain Hyuga found himself bombarded with 17 different blasts of ki, coming from Sasuke, Sakura, Hinata, Kiba, Shino, Ino, Chuji, Shikamaru, Neji, Tenten, Lee, Guy, Kakashi, Asuma, Kurenai, and Temari. But the strongest of the blasts came from one individual in particular, Gaara. If you think he's a demon, then allow me to show you what a real demon is, said Gaara, letting some of his sand creep towards Shinji. He wasn't going to let anyone torment his very first friend. Gaara, just stop, please. He's not worth it so long as I have all of your support, said Naruto. Gaara regained control of himself and retreated his sand as he just turned away from Shinji. Now, there is something I need you guys to understand as well, and it's only fair that you know. What exactly happened the night of the QB attack wasn't what you all really think. The QB really isn't evil, he just wanted to be left alone in peace, but was forced to attack the village by some masked man calling himself Uchiha Madara, said Naruto. A few gasps were heard throughout the crowd that had gathered around him, and Kakashi and the rest of Team 7 helped to convince everyone that what Naruto was saying is in fact true and that perhaps the QB himself was a big misunderstanding. In short, no one's opinions changed with that revelation. The current match finished up with the winner being Yakimaru from Kumo. Match 15, Tamaru of Kiri vs. Hikari of Kumo. Damn it, I wanna go, shouted Naruto. Why don't you go put a shirt on first, replied Kankuro, only to earn a few glares from the female populace, especially Hinata. Despite being only 12, Naruto did have a rather well-toned body and the beginnings of six-pack abs. To be honest, the Konoha girls, minus Tenten who was still being treated, found themselves resisting the urge to glomp Naruto all of the sudden. Hinata on the other hand, well, she was trying to hide the small trickle of bee coming from her nose after imagining Naruto a few years from now. Naruto reached around for his jacket, picking it up and finally seeing the completely burned away back side of it. Unfortunately, this only made Naruto sad as that was his favorite jacket and the one Hinata had given him a few years ago as a surprise birthday present. Well, look at it this way, Naruto, perhaps it is time for a small wardrobe change, said Kakashi, placing his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Yeah, no more. Me now, orange, joked Kiba. What is it with everyone hating orange? Questioned Naruto, making everyone laugh. Winner, Hikari of Kumo, announced Darui. Wow, that was quick. Okay, only 2 matches come on, yes, shouted Naruto. Match 16, Uzumaki Naruto of Konoha vs. Shimaru of Kumo. Hey Naruto, look who it is. Now don't hurt him too bad, after all, we are weak and pathetic, right? Sasuke said with a slight hint of sarcasm in his voice. Naruto simply grinned at his rival and brother. Hey, I'll see you in the finals, said Naruto. Before he could go down, Kakashi stopped him for just a second. Don't use the Rasengan or your knives. Kumo already knows you're a Jinchuriki now, the last thing we need is for them to connect those two things to, you know who. Naruto nodded at Kakashi. As Darui announced for the battle to begin, Naruto could already see Shimaru shaking a bit. The revelation of Naruto being a Jinchuriki must have shaken him a little. Hehe, this could be fun, said Kurama. I want to test something, just listen to what I say. Naruto closed his eyes and realized his breathing slightly. Naruto slowly opened his eyes, revealing the red side. As Shimaru was about to make a move, he instantly froze and went wide-eyed as he was hit with a massive wave of ki. Shimaru dropped to his knees, shivering and unable to move as Naruto just walked towards him and held a kunai at his end. Well, that was rather dull. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto, announced Darui. Up in the stands, Kakashi just chuckled. Wait, what did Naruto do? Asked Ino. Intent. And that was only a fraction of what Kakashi would have us train with, said Sasuke. Kakashi would usually use Naruto to train his team with dealing with ki, and he was proud to say that his team could handle most of the QB's full ki by this point. Man, that was no fun, complained Naruto as he walked back to the balcony. That's the last time I take Furball's advice on starting a fight. Well, if you can't handle the slightest amount of ki, then you don't deserve to be in this exam, said Kakashi. Match 17, Temari of Suna vs. Sumire of Kumo. About time. I can't believe I was the last match, again, said Temari. Temari faced her opponent, a Kunoiki from Kumo, and Darui signaled the beginning of the match. Raiten, electromagnetic M, shouted Sumire as streams of electricity shot out of her hands and towards Temari. Temari just grinned and pulled her fan from her back, opening it to the third moon. With a single swipe of her fan, a huge gust of wind is created, cancelling the lightning jutsu and knocking Sumire back against the wall of the arena with enough force to knock her out. Winner, Temari of Suna, announced Darui. With the matches concluded, everyone who had made it onward lined up in the middle of the room. Overall, the Raikage was not pleased with the outcome of the preliminaries. Only 6 Kumo ninja out of 15 managed to make it to the finals. Suna had 2, Kiri had 1, Taki had 1, and Konoha had 8. This was supposed to be an opportunity to reduce the number of Konoha ninja in the finals, not make them the largest group. Still, for the sake of the announcement of the third round, he did rather well holding himself together. After all was said and done, the Chunin hopefuls now consisted of Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Hinata, Shino, Shinji, Neji, Lee, Gaara, Temari, Fu, Goyaku, Yugito, Yakuro, Yumo, Yakimaru, Hikari, and Omoi. 18 participants meant 9 matches for the first day of fights, and whoever would be capable of fighting after a 3-day resting period would fight in the second round of matches. Now, if each of you will turn your attention to the screen, it will begin listing the pairings for the first round of fights, announced Darui as everyone's attention turned to the screen on the back wall. Match 1 will be Yugito Ni vs. Fu. Yugito and Fu both looked at each other. They both knew they were going up against fellow Jinchuriki, so that could make for an interesting fight. Match 2 will be Uzumaki Naruto vs. Goyaku, announced Darui. Everyone could feel the tension in the room rise between these two. Looks like you've got a few weeks to live, brat. You'd better be there for your own and don't you dare back out or I'll come and hunt you down, said Goyaku. Good, that way I can take you out so you won't hurt any of my friends, replied Naruto. Match 3 will be Rock Lee vs. Temari, announced Darui. This would be an interesting match for both of them. Temari knew that if Lee got within close combat, he would easily have the upper hand. And he had the speed to do so as well. If she could keep him at range, though, she would be able to win. Match 4 will be Hikari vs. Haruno Sakura, announced Darui. Unfortunately, not much was shown in Hikari's preliminary match for Sakura to make any predictions off of. Match 5 will be Hyuga Hinata vs. Yumo, announced Darui. 2 taijutsu users against one another, and based off the preliminary matches, Yumo's speed and precision was something to be watched out for. If it wasn't for the lack of a Byakugan, some people were thinking Yumo could be as precise as Neji. One thing Hinata knew was that she would have to get faster over the next few weeks to win this. Match 6 will be Hyuga Neji vs. Hyuga Shinji, announced Darui. To be honest, both boys were cursing their luck. Shinji knew Neji was the stronger of the two, and Neji knew that he would lose if Shinji pulled the caged bird seal on him, which he honestly wouldn't put past Shinji to use. Match 7 will be Gaara vs. Yakimaru. Both of them remained rather indifferent with the matchup. Match 8 will be Uchiha Sasuke vs. Yakuro. Sasuke merely smirked at this. Looks like he would be the one to put the final member of that trio of Kumo ninja in their place. However, he did watch his person's battle, and he did have to admit that Yakuro was obviously much more skilled than the rest of his team. Perhaps Sasuke might get a challenge from one of them after all. Match 9 will be Omoi vs. Shino. Both of them seemed rather indifferent about this match. Now, unless you have any other questions, the finals will be held in exactly 4 weeks from now. I strongly suggest you use that time to prepare for your upcoming matches. You know your first opponent, but you will not be told your second opponent until the day of the second match. As such, I recommend preparing for anything and everything, not just a single match. Those of you who are not from Kumogakur, you will be provided a few training grounds. Are there any more questions? Asked Darui. No one asked one. Good. Then I will see you in 4 weeks' time. After everyone filed out of the base on the mountain to return to the village, there was a loud crash from behind. Darui turned to see that the Raikage had a rather large hole into the wall. It was impressive though that he had managed to restrain himself that long. Outside, Konoha had gathered all of its ninja, with the Suna trio and Baki tagging along. Certainly has been an interesting week, hasn't it? Asked Kakashi. It'll be late by the time we return to the village. Why don't we go find something to eat and we can call it an early night? We'll start training tomorrow afternoon after you all have had a chance to rest. Upon arriving back in the village, the group of Konoha Ofsuna ninja made a quick stop at the hotel where they had checked in the night before moving on to find an open restaurant. However, Naruto had to go to a clothes store to pick up some sort of new shirt, which sadly wasn't in orange. However, everyone was wishing that it was orange as Naruto had picked up a shirt with B's face on it and his catchphrase, Bakayaro Koniyaro, on the back, most likely a shirt from B's last Enka concert. It was on their way to some Western-style steakhouse, much to Chuji's pleasure, that they saw the green-haired Taki ninja wandering through the village by herself. After some quick questions, the Konoha group soon realized that Fu was left in Kumo to train while the rest of her team returned to Taki. Naruto didn't like the idea of just leaving her hanging for the exam, but there really wasn't much that could be done, except invite her to dinner with the rest of them. Needless to say, Fu was shocked by the invitation, in a good way. When she initially declined, saying that she didn't want to intrude on their night, Shino was the one who insisted that she join them. Minutes passed after their food was ordered and there was a lot of conversation going on between individual parties. While she was quite enjoying herself, Fu couldn't help but feel envious towards Naruto. He had just revealed to a good chunk of his friends that he was a Jinchuriki and yet they still accepted him and laughed with him like nothing had happened. Is there a place where I could be accepted like that? Where people wouldn't care and I could just live a normal life? Thought Fu to herself. She was beginning to think that Konoha was sounding pretty good, until she caught the way Shinji was looking at Naruto. She remembered Naruto saying that he had to work hard for his friends, and it appeared as if this group was the reward for his hard work. Still, she already had 2 friends in Konoha, which was more than she had in Taki, and the way in which this dinner was going, it felt like more than just Naruto and Shino. As dinner arrived, Ino was surprisingly the first one to dig into the massive ribeye steak she ordered. While it was different from the food they were all used to eating back in Konoha, everyone at the table had to admit that the food was delicious. And for Ino's case, she probably could have out-eaten Chuji that night. It was like something finally snapped inside her after she also decided to give up her fangirl ways and her body was making up for all the years of dieting. Afternoon the next day came and the Konoha genin were asked to meet up for their training assignments. Those who did not make the finals decided to stay and see if they could assist the others in training. However, the most surprising thing about the day had to be Naruto's new attire. Apparently, Hinata had dragged Naruto along shopping for a new outfit, after his got melted off of him when he went to save Tenten. Naruto had gotten rid of orange as the primary color and was now wearing a pair of black pants with matching ninja sandals. He was wearing a black vest with an orange shirt underneath. He still had to have at least some orange in his outfit, which had sleeves that went halfway down the forearm. Naruto had also ditched the gloves in favor of a pair of orange braces which he scribed the storage seals for his kunai and shuriken on. As the cloth on his headband had been damaged, he also had to have it remounted and now had a long black headband which the forehead protector had been remounted to imagine his forehead protector from Shippuden. There was however, one thing he managed to salvage from his old outfit and that was the white Uzumaki swirl which he had on his left shoulder. Naruto had the patch sewn onto the same sleeve of his new shirt. He would have to get the large red Uzumaki swirl sewn on when he returned to Konoha. Who the hell are you and what have you done with Naruto? Asked Kiba. What are you talking about? I am Naruto, replied Naruto. Yeah, but you're not, orange. Shouted Kiba. Was it really that bad? Asked Naruto. Yes, responded just about everyone there. Yo, I see everyone's here, said Kakashi as the 4 Jonin senseis and Anko arrived at the training ground that had been assigned to Konoha. And I see we have a newcomer here. Kakashi pointed straight at Naruto. Not you two, Kakashi-sensei. Pouted Naruto. Kakashi merely chuckled at this. Anyways, let's go over the training assignments for all of you for the next few weeks, shall we? Said Kakashi. I've sent word back to Konoha on who made it and requested for certain individuals to come up for some of you. They should be here by the end of the week at the latest. Now, Sasuke, you'll be with me obviously. Fine, replied Sasuke. Sakura, you'll be trained by Kurenai and Kakashi was interrupted as Anko came and gave her new best friend a hug, and Anko. Sadly, Tsunade-sama can't be here until the time of the matches. Besides, medical jutsu won't do you much good at this point in time, so Kurenai will be helping out your genjutsu while Anko helps with the other stuff. Other stuff? Sakura asked with a worried look, receiving the look from Anko. Yes, Naruto, I believe Jiraiya arrived yesterday, I just don't know where he is, said Kakashi. Where's the nearest bathhouse? Asked Naruto. Why would you want to know where the nearest bathhouse is? Asked Neji. Because that's where I'll find Ero Sennin, replied Naruto. At a bathhouse in Kumo. Tehehe, Kumo does indeed have some fine ladies, said a certain white-haired man, perched atop one of the bathhouse buildings. Ika perv, shouted one of the women who happened to notice Jiraiya. Ladies, do not fear. I am the great toad sage of Mount Myoboku, the epitome of manliness, who will swoon any lady off her feet. I am Jiraiya, shouted Jiraiya, making one of his poses on one foot with an open palm outstretched. Apparently, the women in the bath didn't take this very well as they began throwing various buckets and wooden stools at him, knocking him off the building. Unfortunately, the landing wasn't much better and Jiraiya smacked his head against the ground, knocking him unconscious. Back to training. Naruto, you'll be training with Jiraiya in the afternoon, but Asuma here has offered his services to help with your wind manipulation in the mornings, said Kakashi. Really? That's great. Thanks Asuma-sensei, said Naruto. No problem. Now Shinji, your father's on the way here and he'll be taking over your training, said Asuma. Very well, said Shinji. In reality, he was thankful to get away from this group of losers. Lee, you and I will be training our youth together, shouted Guy. Hi, Guy-sensei. I am looking forward to our youth-filled time together, replied Lee. Neji, Hiashi-sama is on his way too and will be taking over your youthful training, said Guy. Neji merely nodded. Hinata, your father will be training you as well, however you will be working with Asuma in the mornings alongside Naruto on wind manipulation, said Kurenai. Hi, Kurenai-sensei, replied Hinata. She was happy that she'd be working with Naruto some these weeks. Her father had also been growing more satisfied with her training these past months, but the one thing she really needed right now was speed training for her upcoming match. Hopefully Hiashi would have something to help her out in that. And Shino, your dad is coming up here as well. You and Hinata are welcome to join me and Anko until your respective trainers arrive, said Kurenai. I understand, sensei, replied Shino. My father is the best choice for my training. If there are no more questions, you are all dismissed to your respective trainers, said Kakashi as he took Sasuke off towards some isolated corner. I guess I'd better go find Ero Sennin then, replied Naruto as he made his way to find his perverted teacher. It didn't take long for Naruto to arrive at the bathhouse and to see Jiraiya lying unconscious on the ground with a red mark on his face in the shape of a stool. Baka Sennin, sighed Naruto. He then noticed a water balloon not far from Jiraiya. Hey, been a while since I've done this. Naruto performed the first phase of the Rasengan training and popped the water balloon over top Jiraiya, waking the perv with a splash of water. Who are you and what have you done with the gaki? Asked Jiraiya. What are you talking about, Ero Sennin? Asked Naruto. You're not orange, replied Jiraiya. Not you too, sighed Naruto. I can't believe I'd see the day when you retire that bullseye of a jumpsuit. Shouted Jiraiya, jumping for joy. I didn't retire it, it got destroyed in the exams, said a sad Naruto. He and that jumpsuit had been through a lot. Naruto even had a funeral for the jacket last night. Oh yeah. Since we're here, how about a bath and you can fill me in on everything that happened, suggested Jiraiya. Naruto agreed to this. Truth be told, he hadn't had a chance to take a warm relaxing bath since before the exams and the showers at the mountain base only had 4 minutes of hot water at a time. I see. Troubling that the Iwa ninja attacked you like that, but I'm glad you and our team came out alright. I'm also sorry you had to go QB mode to save that Tenten girl. But, it's reassuring to know that all of your friends still accept you, even after that, said Jiraiya. Yeah, I'm glad to and that none of them managed to get K against that Rokubi Jinchuriki, said Naruto. That definitely is a plus. Still, that just proves that those bunch of brats you hang out with are worthy of being called friends, said Jiraiya. Now, who's this opponent you're facing in the first match? The Rokubi's Jinchuriki, replied Naruto. I see, said Jiraiya. Any thoughts on how you're going to do it? Naruto reached into his bag and pulled out his great-grandfather's books and unsealed the 2 sealing scrolls. Interesting. This one won't come in too much use against that guy, but this one may. You do realize though that these are incredibly complex seals though, said Jiraiya. I know, but I need them if I want to beat this guy, said Naruto. So you're not going to resort to the QB? Asked Jiraiya. No. As much as Furball is begging me to let him fight, I'm only going to use the Kyuubi chakra that's needed to counter his acid cloak, said Naruto. I don't know, I just feel this is just something I have to do. Good. Well, I guess we should get started. Learning those two seals in a month's time is going to be some task, but you did manage to get the Rasengan down by the start of the last tournament, said Jiraiya. Something then came to his mind. Oh, and I think I've got this new jutsu you'll like. What are we waiting for then? Jutsu. Ninpo. Blinding scales, a technique where Fu blows a powdered substance at someone with a highly luminous property. The bright flash from this powder temporarily blinds an opponent. This can be avoided if the eyes are protected in time. Rank C. Uses Fu. Kaiten. Mouse hairball. The user spits out a flaming ball of hair that assumes the shape of a mouse engulfed in flames. The fireball then splits into individual and similarly ablazed hairs. These flaming projectiles pursue the target until they come into contact, where they explode on contact. Rank A. Uses Yugito ni. Breath of Death, a technique where Goyaku exhales a cloud of acidic vapors at an opponent. The vapors begin to eat away at the skin of the opponent, and if they find their way into the opponent's lungs, then the vapors begin to eat away at the lungs as well. Prolonged exposure to this cloud will most likely lead to death. Rank B. Uses Goyaku. Acid Cannon. Goyaku forms a condensed ball of acid in his hands and shoots it towards an opponent. This acid is strong enough to eat through just about anything and will kill if it hits a person. So far, the only thing that is known to protect against this attack is a Biju Chakra cloak. Rank A. Uses Goyaku. Raten. Electromagnetic A technique where the user shoots streams of lightning towards the intended target. Depending on the power, this attack can vary from a small shock to a powerful stream of lightning. Rank C. Uses Sumira. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.